Racism is tearing America apart. This video is brought to you by Extreme Tees. Click on the link below. Make sure you put Kevin in the promo code and you'll get a 20% discount. These days, the future is still more uncertain than ever. And that's why people who know what's coming use today to prepare. You can't wait until the last moment. By then, it's too late. The most important thing that you need is long-term emergency storage food. Why? Because you got to eat to live. It stays fresh up to 25 years and it will be ready when you need it. I strongly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leader in self-reliance. They are the only source that I use for emergency food planning. And right now, you can save $50 off of a 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 plus calories a day. Calories that give you the energy to survive. I'm a survivor. And saving $50 is impossible to pass up, but supplies are limited. Order by 3 p.m. and your order will be shipped that same day. So go to preparewithkevinscorner.com and stock up now. That is preparewithkevinscorner.com. All right, you got it? Now, there's no time to lose, so do it right now. Now let's get back to the video. What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner. Now, I bet you a lot of liberals and even perhaps maybe the algorithms, based on my title, might have said, well, this sounds like a good narrative. I mean, heck, somebody's pointing out the fact that America is such a racist country that racism is bad and it's tearing the whole country apart. Maybe we have an ally in our mission to define and paint America as a racially divided, just hateful country. Well, you don't. In fact, the way I see it, it is the folks that are driving the race narrative into our country and into our population and society is responsible for tearing the country apart. They're pushing race into the culture. They're talking about race constantly. They bring it up more than race wants to be brought up. Maybe racism want to just be left alone. Maybe it's done its deed and it's saying, look, I'm old, I'm washed up, I no longer get it. I just want to retire. I just want to go somewhere and relax and shut it all down. But the more we try to do that, here comes the liberal media. Here comes black activists, white Democrats, white liberals, and probably a few others that want to keep resurrecting it. Why won't you just let race die? It's sitting there like an old person that's 99 years old and they're suffering and just want to go, and the whole family is around their hospital bed. Don't go, mama. Like mama's 35. Mama's 99. Mama done lived a long time, saw a lot of days go by, had lots of pain, trials, and suffering. Just let mama go. Don't be talking about, no, mama, don't leave me. If you go, I won't be right. Take me with you, all of that mess. Get up off of mama. Let her go on to glory. When she go and that heart stop, don't be, the nurses come in and give her the paddle. No. She's 99. Let mama be. Okay? We all got to go sometime. But the Democrats and the liberal media keep wanting to resurrect racism. And that is why racism is tearing the country apart. They're taking advantage of ignorant people. People who have a history of suffering and pain and so on and so forth. So that's one group. The second group is impressionable, kind-hearted people who don't see that they're manipulating them. Most people are against racism. Right now, you would be hard-pressed to go and find some 100% uncut, undeniable racism. In fact, I'm going to prove that based on several things. Let's start off with some of these hate crimes, all of this racism, this, I guess, so blatant, so open that we should be seeing it every single day, and nobody should have to manufacture that mess.
Speaking of lies, reports last week about racist graffiti, the good old racist graffiti gambit. Racist graffiti found around campus at a college called Albion College in Michigan. The graffiti said, here's what the graffiti said. KKK white power, die N-words please, and we do exist KKK. And then there was a Star of David with the number 666 written across it. I guess it's supposed to be an anti-Semitic thing. Now, this was a big deal locally. Got a lot of attention. The students protested. We got some footage of that. They're a pretty long line of them. This is a small college, but it looks like they all came out. Look at them all marching. They all came out to march against racism on campus. I don't have to tell you what happens next, do I? You already know. You heard racist graffiti, and if you've been paying attention at all over the last 10 years, you know exactly where this is headed. It was a hoax. It was a black student that wrote the graffiti. You know, even without the history, even without knowing the history, you probably would have already guessed that this is a hoax. Because this just isn't KKK white power. Who do you think is going to sincerely write that? Even if it was an actual white racist. Like, why would they write that? But as we've covered many times, you know, people who want to invent hate crimes and turn themselves into a victim, they have a lot of trouble doing it persuasively and convincingly because they really have not encountered a lot of racism from white people. So they don't even know what that would be like. If racism from white people was common in this country, number one, you wouldn't have to invent it. You wouldn't have to make it up. And number two, if you did make it up, you would have encountered it so often that you should be able to make it up and impersonate it convincingly. But this is obviously someone who has never encountered a white racist in his entire life. He has no idea what a white racist would say, which is good, by the way. He's never encountered one. That's a great thing. We should celebrate that. That's one way that you know that it's a hoax. And the other way you know it's a hoax is that, as far as I can remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I cannot think, in the last 20 years, I cannot think of a single case where so-called racist graffiti or a racist note left on a receipt or left on someone's car windshield or slipped under their door turned out to be sincere. Every single case that I can think of, they were all hoaxes. Has there been even one real case? I'm assuming, just law of averages, there have to have been, right? The last 20 years, there have to have been at least a couple of these racist graffiti cases that was actually done by a white person. Maybe. Anyway, MLive has the report, says Albion College and the Albion Department of Public Safety says that a student is responsible for racist graffiti found in a dorm last weekend. Albion police brought the 21-year-old black male in for questioning on April 6th. The student admitted to creating most of the graffiti, and video evidence from Albion's campus safety department confirms the statements made by the student.
So we have in the mainstream media and also in the Democrat Party and all of these companies that are jumping on board with these narratives and trying to act like, you know, we're fighting against injustice, racism, discrimination, all of that stuff. Like we've made no progress since the civil rights movement or even perhaps slavery. Yeah, we've gone backwards. So their solution to solving this and tackling it and fighting it is to constantly bring it up, to constantly shove it down the face in our society, shove it down the face of all Americans, shove it down the throats of all white people except the white people who's shoving it down your throat. For some reason, they don't have to eat that. They don't have to swallow their castor oil, see, because they've evolved beyond just, having biases or any type of, prejudices in their head. They've dealt with their white privilege deep down on the inside with lip service by recognizing it and telling you, hey, I recognize white privilege. I know I have it. I'm not doing anything to solve it, meaning I'm not giving up any of my money, my privilege, my job, or any of those things. I'm just simply recognizing it. And you need to do it too. But because folks do not buy into this race narrative and this baiting, then if they don't, then the go-to is simply, well, then you're part of the problem. You must be a white nationalist. You must be a racist. And so by calling everyone racist, by highlighting race in everything in our society, I guess that's their way of curing racism. This is how you know they're disingenuous and they're using it for propaganda and politics. Because you don't solve the problem by increasing the problem, okay? You don't put fire out with fire. So now, if you want Americans to stop looking at race first, why do you always bring up race first? I mean, heck, we don't want to hire nobody unless we look at race first. We can't even listen to your opinion unless we start off with, what race are you? All of those things. So now you want to rid society that have come so far in America where most average Americans aren't walking around and first thing they think of is, well, is she black or is she white or is she Puerto Rican? Is he this and that? But for some reason, y'all are bringing that up and using the totally contrary excuse of we're bringing it up so we can solve racism. Well, what if you're going, I didn't know racism was that big of a problem? When I made these statements, I wasn't thinking about racism. Well, yes, you were. And to let you know that, we're going to go over 2, maybe 3 clips to highlight what I'm talking about. We're going to get to the bottom of who's really pushing this race narrative. Starting off with Don Lemon.
Okay. Let me tell you this, too. Now, let me just add this one thing, though, brother.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I thought about Brother George, and I thought about my brother, and I thought about my father, and I thought about my grandfather. I'm not going to stand there for no 9 minutes and 29 seconds and watch somebody murder my father. No. No. I believe in nonviolence, but I'm not going to watch that kind of murder. I love my brother Charles McMillan. That's why he was crying. That's what his tears were about. He felt helpless. We're not going to do that. Some of us black folk, some of us black men, we're not going to stand there. We're going to have to intervene in some way. They ain't going to kill us like that, and we remain spectators. We got a self-respect. We got a self-defense. And we intervene when you start killing us like that.
Yeah, word.
I'm sorry.
Reflection. We started for her reflection. What's up, bro? So you mean tell me this angry black man after I listen to this dude right here, bro? I'm ready to go outside and start the capping, man. I'm sick of this mess, even though I live in the suburbs and I don't be hearing the shots and stuff all around my crib. I ain't have no cops grab me and act a fool. No, I ain't got none of that. But still, bruh, I'm still mad because every time I listen to Booker T. Washington right here, I get madder. Booker T know what he talking about, y'all man? Yeah, so next time some of these cops pull me, I'm ready, yo, fool. Get off me, man. Why you pulling me up, fool? You better break yourself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, instead of solving it with some rationale, you know what I'm saying, bro? You know what I'm saying, bro? Instead of solving it with some rationale and some complete resolution, I'm gonna be like, yo, officer, you pull me up because I'm black. We just got done listening to Booker T. Washington, Mad for Nothing, talking as if right now we're living in the height of the civil rights movement, where, you know, these cops aren't even hiding. Back then, they was very bold with the racism. Those cops, you know, they'll see black folks marching or standing to vote, and they'll just be like, what you boy doing over here? Look, boy, let me tell you something. But now, wow, I mean, they are really good disguising that type of open racism. And so Booker T is about to start a full-blown revolution, and Don Lemon buys into it and breaks down with the softest cry I've ever heard. I'm sorry. But it gets worse. Racism again, y'all, for all occasions.
Hey, I'm Don Lemon. We've got to talk about, I want y'all to hear me, okay? We've got to talk about what is happening over on the propaganda network, the Fox propaganda network. And I don't really concern myself with what the other guys are doing. But let me tell you why I'm doing this. Because this is the mainstreaming of white supremacist propaganda to your neighbors and your family members. And it's coming from Tucker Carlson, who is promoting the so-called replacement theory. Theory is really too good a word for it. It's a lie is what it is. The lie that liberal elites are plotting to replace the white population with immigrants of color.
Now, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true. If this was happening in your house, if you were in 6th grade, for example, and without telling you, your parents adopted a bunch of new siblings and gave them brand new bikes and let them stay up later and help them with their homework and gave them twice the allowance that they gave you, you would say to your siblings, you know, I think we're being replaced by by kids that our parents love more.
I would.
And it would be kind of hard to argue against you because look at the evidence. So this matters on a bunch of different levels, but on the most basic level, it's a voting rights question. In a democracy, one person equals one vote. If you change the population, you dilute the political power of the people who live there. So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter. So I don't understand why we don't understand this. I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question. I have less political power because they're importing a brand new electorate. Why should I sit back and take that? The power that I have as an American guaranteed at birth is one man, one vote, and they're diluting it. No, they're not allowed to do that. Why are we putting up with this?
I don't know. Because, see, if I'm a rational man and I walk into an auditorium and I hear this man giving this presentation and race isn't even on my mind, instead, I'm trying to understand the policy, figure out if it benefits Americans, not black, not white, not whatever. Does this benefit American citizens versus white, black, all of that stuff? Yeah, I would be thinking whatever this man is talking about, that makes perfectly good sense. But guess what, y'all? Out of nowhere, Don Lemone's about to come in and drop what? Racism where it's not applicable. Racism where you can't win an argument or debate. Racism when something doesn't make rational sense. So therefore, I got to go ahead and use racism to justify stupidity. Racism to invoke emotion so people don't look at what Tucker's saying rationally. Tucker tried to stay away from racism. He even tried to say everybody brings up racism, and it ain't about racism. It's about citizenship, us being American citizens and them not, and changing the demographic. Now, Don Lemon knows exactly what Tucker's talking about, but he's a part of the propaganda networks, and he now has to come and kind of undermine that rationale, undermine that logic, undermine those facts, but he can't do that rationally. So what does he do? Go ahead, break the glass. Ting! Bring in you know what? They number one go-to. They number one weapon. Racism.
Diluting. First of all, as he was just singing it, diluting, one person, one vote. Isn't that the whole argument about people getting rid of the Electoral College? That it dilutes the vote. I'm just saying.
What you're saying is dumb. What you're saying is I don't have a rational argument against what Tucker just said. So I'm going to try to laugh it off like whatever he's saying is so stupid it ain't even worth my time. And I'm going to point out that he's a hypocrite and he's unlearned and all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, so you're supposed to be intelligent. You don't know what he was talking about. So I guess what you're trying to say now is you assume that he was talking about all Americans simply across the whole United States having one vote, and that's how we tally things, okay? Meaning we don't have electorals, college. We don't have that stuff. It's all about how many votes this person get, how many votes that person get, not based on electoral college, right? That's what you're trying to make it seem that he's talking about. But Don Lemon, since you are a propagandist, a smart propagandist who's pretending to be ignorant, you know that he's not talking about that. He's talking about each individual state and the weight that their voters have in that state, which in result gets put towards our electoral votes that go up to Washington. That's what he's talking about. You know that. You know that, Don. But you're trying to act like you don't. Okay, so that means in Ohio, when Kev votes, I get one vote. But if you bring in 3 or 4 new people to our state that is going to be voting for the opposite party, then guess what? It starts to mess up the real citizens' weight of their vote in that particular state, which in return will impact electoral votes too. But Don knows that, right? So Don has to laugh it off and try to belittle what Tucker was saying. All that is a defense mechanism that all boxers who get punched in the face use. You think that hurt? Yeah, now what? Do it again. You're really doing that because it did hurt. But let's continue, though.
Is he suggesting that? What is he talking about? A lot of talk there about diluting the political power of the current electorate, which is mostly white people.
Oh, there it is. You see that? My man, Don Lemon, what is he talking about? You don't know, Don? I thought he laid out his argument very clear. I mean, I didn't have to sit back and go, now wait a minute, hold on. That it wasn't a Joe Biden statement. It wasn't a Joe Biden speech where I'm going, where's he at? Where is it wasn't Alexandria Cortez was talking about the what, the when, the how, the where, the who, and the what, and all that stuff. Yeah, see, Tucker laid out a wonderful argument, because if he didn't, Don Lemon wouldn't be taking time out of his propaganda all day long. He's propaganda all day long. He wouldn't take time out of that to address it. See, so now he has to get out there and try to undermine a rational common sense view, which is difficult to do. See, the disinfectant that really kills all type of stupidity and liberal logic is common sense, facts, all those things. He can't compete with that, so what does he do? It's racism. Now I wonder who's pushing race. Tucker's not. Tucker's talking about policies. Don Lemon's talking about racism.
The white vote should not be diluted. That's what he's saying.
Y'all get that? Now, I didn't get that out of that. I sat back and watched the whole clip. Y'all saw the clip. When Tucker got finished, if I'm that guy sitting in there, non-biased, I'm going, wow, that was insightful. I didn't know that. He showed me something. But then Don Lemon rushes in with his narrative, and all of a sudden, something didn't make sense. Now all of a sudden, I'm mad. Now all of a sudden, I forget about what Tucker just said, which made sense. But I'm saying, what? So he's saying all of this because he's racist? How can you be racist when Tucker was not talking about the current American citizens, which is a melting pot of folks? He's talking about illegal immigrants that they're bringing in to alter that vote, because a lot of us don't vote for Democrats anymore because their policies suck. So when the policies suck and you can't win the fight fair, you fix the fight. Don knows that. He's a part of he's a part of fixing that fight. He's one of those folks that they use to fix the fight. So that's why he's coming out trying to go after Tucker and bringing up race. Tucker didn't do it, but let's look at another example. Let me give you an intro to this so you understand the context. He's talking about the George Floyd case, the trial right now. Now understand, this is what I mean, that racism is destroying America. People bringing up racism and inserting it into every application for political gain, to divide, conquer, to politicize, they're responsible for the racism that they're trying to tell us that we need to end, which is crazy. Because see, when George Floyd was on the curb and that cop had his knee in his neck, now granted, we didn't know all the details that led up to that. I know the liberal media and the Democrats want us to stay focused on just the visual, but not get into all the stuff that led to that. From a visual perspective, it didn't look good. One thing I did not hear from anybody, white, black, otherwise, I didn't hear nobody jumping on social media or in the news talking about, darn right, that's the way things should be done. These black folks need to learn, man. They can't come over here just doing what they want to do. I didn't hear nobody doing that. We finally got to the place where almost every American saw that, black, white, or otherwise, and said, that's not cool. That didn't look good. That's not right. So then what are you bringing up race for? If your goal is to get us all to see evil or good from bad, or not see race at all, but be able to judge every situation by the deeds, the merits, and the act individually, not collectively. If that was your goal, y'all just undermined it. You know why? Because if y'all get rid of that, and if you get all Americans on one accord, you're out of business. What are you going to get up there and divide people over? What are you going to do then? Tell black people about policies? Please. Y'all ain't did that in years. Y'all go in the neighborhoods, I trust us guys. We're looking out for you. We're going to keep you in these conditions though. But don't worry about it. We're looking out for you, and we're fighting against all this racism that never comes from us. It never comes from us. It comes from others, not us. Okay. But yet somehow though, you guys live in our areas, and in these areas that we run is responsible for the most crime, the most killing, the worst education, all the violence, all of that stuff. Yeah, that's us. That's all us. But we don't want you focusing on us. We want you focusing on other people so we can promise you guys that we're going to do something about this condition, which we haven't done in years. And if we do that, we'll put ourselves out of business. Then we'll have to convince you of policies. Now, why waste our time on that? That's why we keep you ignorant to politics, okay? That's why we keep y'all focused on the emotional stuff that aren't really issues in the black neighborhood and block all reason, education, and logic, as we're about to see in this clip. Michael, take it away, man. Take it away like Calgon.
Everyone in America, everyone in the whole wide world had heard of the details of this case. And right now, this trial is being conducted under the threat of terrorism. We're being told by members of BLM that if Chauvin is not convicted, specifically of murder, then BLM is going to burn the city down again. They'll probably burn a lot of the country down again, just like they did for months and months and months with absolutely no repercussions in 2020.
Oh my.
So how is justice ever going to carry the day if in this trial you've got the explicit threat of terrorism?
Good point.
Isn't that a little weird? If this were the trial of Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton it's the impeachment trial of Bill Clinton for perjury. And the Republicans say, okay, we're gonna watch over this trial and we want you to pursue justice and follow the facts. But if you do not remove Clinton from office, we're going to burn the whole country down again. And what if the Republicans had the credibility to say that because they had just spent the past 8 months burning the country down previously for the same thing? Do you think, if the tables were turned here, that anyone would think that that could possibly be a fair trial, a fair carriage of justice? I don't think so.
Me either.
But this racial demagoguery does not have very much logic to it. It's just the way it is. I mean, I'm almost sick of saying, if the roles were reversed, well, you know, if it were, I mention it briefly just to show the craziness of it. But I don't think that that is a winning argument. I don't think they care. I don't think there's any logic to it.
Y'all hear that so far? Yeah, they don't care. That's the whole thing. They're making citizens care about something they actually don't care about themselves. When it comes down to racism, you think these folks really care about racism? No. They look at racism as a means to an end. They look at racism as a tool to attack their opponents. That is it. If you really think that Joe Biden is sitting up at night concerned about the little black kids in Chicago getting shot and killed all the time, you're naive. If you really think Kamala Harris is concerned about the increased attacks on Asian business owners, you're mistaken. You think any of these Democrats care about any of the victimized groups or people that they always talk about? No, not at all. You know why I know that? Because when Kamala Harris had an opportunity to go and talk to Jacob Blake's girlfriend, whom he sexually assaulted, stole her stuff, stole her car, bought stuff, came back, cops told him, man, dude, you're under arrest, fights with the cops, get tased several times, walks to the car, says he has a knife, then they follow him, he reaches in the car, gets shot several times, and what does Kamala Harris do? She goes to visit Jacob Blake in the hospital and tell him he's so brave because racism at that moment trumped Me Too. Instead of going to say, sweetie, he should have never did that to you. And if he would have been following the rules, he wouldn't have got his butt shot. But no, she cared more about Jacob Blake only because Jacob Blake was shot by a police officer, but not just any police officer. Got to be a white one. So we all know that this whole argument and race narrative that they're driving into society is fake. It's false. It's being used. It's being overblown. It's a weapon. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, guys, if there is some undeniable blatant racism, then I would be the first to go, yeah, man, we got to rally. But when you insert racism into everything, then racism becomes diluted and you can't even identify it. Now everything is racist. So we're about to find out right now, as Michael Knowles shows this clip. Watch what this black lady does. But I got to give it to the guest that responded to this black lady, who is the worst of black folks right about now. She's intelligent. She's smart. She's eloquent, but she's the worst because what she's doing is enabling black folks. And I'm going to call it out in a few seconds.
And I think conservatives should stop pretending that it does. Eric Bolling, the commentator and host, he had a great response on this. Eric Bolling was being subjected to preposterous, illogical racial demagoguery on the BBC. So he walked off the set.
I think it's really rich for any Republican, especially a white man, to run around and claim that they care about the economic condition of black communities and black businesses when that's all a lie.
Oh, wait. Here come the big one. Elizabeth, I'm coming to see you. So this black woman who's in a very nice background, it looks, I don't know if that's her house or not, but it looks very nice. The way she's dressed, she's groomed and everything. I would have thought when she came up on that screen, she would have had some type of net over her hair from cooking in the kitchen from Massa, have some type of just tablecloth covering up her body. You know, no shoes. Can't have those on. Yeah, I would have thought she'd have got on there talking about some eyes be real scared now to get this here interview. But no, she looks educated. She looks smart. She almost would look like black privilege. I'm sure if some of the black folks that lived through real racism saw her like this, they'd say, she's one of them high sedity blacks. She thinks she's better than us. She got that high yellow white privilege. See, they would have looked at her like she was, highfalutin. But now she's telling this, I guess the interviewer and the host, the guest rather, she's telling him that white folks, especially white Republicans, don't have the right to be talking about black folks and the economy and all of that stuff.
Economic condition of black communities and black businesses, when that's all a lie.
So now here she is trying to tell us that they shouldn't be weighing in on the conditions of the black community, of black businesses, because that's all a lie. But yet here she is supporting a party, almost 100% guaranteed. If they're talking about race, she's voting Democrat. So now here she is supporting a party that tells us about all of the conditions in the black neighborhood. Who do you think's telling us all these narratives? It's not black folks. These are white liberals. These are white Democrats who's giving this chick and the rest of them their marching orders. They're the ones saying black folks don't know how to go and get an ID. But yet black folks aren't whining about not being able to go and get an ID. They're the ones saying black folks can't stand in a line without getting a drink of water every couple minutes to vote. Black folks weren't whining about, dude, I almost died of thirst trying to vote. These white liberals, these white liberal men and women are the ones telling her that black folks can't go a couple hours without having an Oreo cookie or a donut because they might drop dead waiting to vote for starvation. Yeah, they're the ones telling her that these are problems in the black community. And yet black folks aren't saying this. So now the same woman who's saying that white Republicans cannot understand what's going on in the black community and don't care about them are embracing narratives that degrade the black community by white liberals who's telling us what's going on in the black community. And here she is, don't even see that she's the puppet. Someone's hand is up her butt doing this. As she's trying to tell us and tell this guy, he don't understand. You can't weigh in, but I'll take Joe Biden. You can weigh in, Joe. You could tell us that these new updated voting laws in Georgia are just like Jim Crow on steroids. And you don't have nothing to say about that? That man just compared the most simplistic, minimal requirement that almost every human on this planet can endure and understand. And he inserts Jim Crow that he himself was a part of. Okay. He himself lives through. He himself were interacting with folks that were a part of that. And now he's telling you and you're telling us that white conservative men don't understand that and don't have the right to weigh in. Yet it was the Republican Party who fought against all the stuff that Joe's party. You can't make this up, man. This woman's completely blind. She's completely ignorant. She is sitting up here. She might, I don't know, maybe she just straight up knows she sold out. But I guarantee you a lot of this is ignorance. From being programmed to think like this for years. I know because I grew up in a black environment. I know the stinking thinking that can get downloaded into our heads to where everything is racist. But you got to question the source. Who's telling me that everything is racist? Are these black folks or these white liberal Democrat politicians responsible for the slavery, all the Jim Crow, all the lynching, all of the segregation, all of that stuff? Now all of a sudden, they're telling me what's going on in the black community in regards to race. And that is why this man does exactly what he does.
Okay, there's nothing in their policies.
Just please let her
finish.
finish.
That they've done. The other thing is that I don't work for the Biden administration.
Eric, I'm so sorry. We can't hear you. I'm going to let Aisha finish.
I don't work for the Biden administration, never have. But what I am is a black person in America. And everything that these voting laws stand for and what they look like are reminiscent to the Jim Crow policies that my family's lived under. Every single thing about it. So this is all about racial discrimination. And how dare you try to act like you are somehow a proponent of black people in businesses just to make a point and to try to create a wedge. It's ignorant and it's just disrespectful.
That's disgusting. I'm done. Put me off. That's disgusting. I am nowhere anything you're painting me to be. And the problem with American politics is exactly that. Because I'm white, you think I'm racist. That's BS. I'm done.
Will you just stay, Eric? Will you just stay for this question?
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The dude walked off, which he should have, because she was insulting him, and that argument was going nowhere. See, and that is the goal of these people. They know that racism isn't the biggest threat to America or black folks. All you have to do is go into a black neighborhood and say, hey, how many times you saw the cops come up in here and shoot unarmed black men, break into houses? You know, how many times you saw white kids or white people come in your neighborhood, break into houses, steal cars, you know, jump you, shoot and kill, all of that stuff? How many times you saw that? They'd be like, I ain't never seen that. You know, so now all of a sudden, all these black kids that's being killed, all these black men that's being shot, and women and all this stuff, this ain't because white folks are invading this is not because white folks are invading their neighborhoods. No. This is being done by other black people. But you know what? We got one more example of how folks that claim they're fighting against racism are the biggest proponents of racism. Let's check out this.
We're joined now by Dr. Alveda King, a former legislator in the Georgia House of Representatives. She is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we're always proud to have her on our show. Good to see you. Thank you very much for being here. Now, Jim Crow on steroids is how President Biden has described this new voting law. You remember what Jim Crow was like, and you certainly were taught all the details about it from your family. Does this bear any resemblance to Jim Crow?
David, I am 70 years old. I am the daughter of Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King, who fought with his brother, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., their dad guiding them, and certainly God guiding them, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Sr. We fought for voter rights. Now, we never denied that you would not need identification when you register to vote or go to vote, that you would need a reliable source that would prove that you are a citizen of the United States. We fought to be recognized and acknowledged as citizens of the United States with the right to vote. That's the Jim Crow laws that we were fighting against. Now that we are citizens, my ID, my right to vote should be valued. I have that today. That is what we were fighting for. Today, now people are saying, those who are calling these actions Jim Crow, you don't need identification. You could live anywhere. You should come from anywhere. You can mail in your votes, all of that. But it takes away what we actually fought for, to be recognized as equally recognized as citizens of these United States, regardless of skin color.
Right.
We were fighting to be one blood, one human race. That's not what's going on today, David.
Well, but you have the President of the United States calling people who support this law that does require identification, but identification that you get for free from the government, or you can use your gas and electric bill or anything. He's calling that Jim Crow. He's calling people who support it racist. And yet he's a guy who came in saying he was going to be the great unifier. Does race baiting equal anything close to unifying the nation?
President Biden is very adept at race baiting. He and all of his cohorts and colleagues are. If you throw skin color into a discussion and you step on the emotions of people who have fought to be considered equal in these United States, then you're going to immediately get support and confusion for that position. He is not telling the truth. Voter identification is not voter suppression.
Right.
He knows that, but he's relying on the emotions of the people who've been downtrodden for so long to be so disturbed and so outraged that they will not see and hear what is really going on.
Beautifully put, y'all. I mean, I'm talking, she laid that down. How can you even argue against that? How can you not see through the diabolical scheme to divide this country by race? And you know what's sad about that? They got so many black folks and other minorities and white liberals trained to the point where I sent this clip of Dr. Martin Luther King's niece. You would think a black person would at least say, you know what? Let me take a listen to that. She is, you know, Dr. King's niece and all. At least let me listen to it. One of my friends that I know, I sent to, man, dude, that's coming from Fox News. Did you even watch the clip? So you're programmed and trained to not watch anything because it said Fox News at the bottom. So instead of going in, clicking on it, listening to her argument and responding rationally or presenting a counter argument, your go-to is exactly what they want it to be, which is, I don't even want to introduce my pea brain, my bubble head to her. I don't even want to hurt my head, my thoughts, my brain, trying to understand what she's saying and use a rational argument against her. So the bottom line, guys, if racism was that prevalent in our society in America, first things first, you wouldn't have to go seek it out, make it up, come up with all of these crazy fake race hoaxes, all the Jesse Smolletts and the Bubba Wallaces and the list goes on and on. You wouldn't have to do that. Secondly, you wouldn't even have to go looking hard to find it. If you really believe that America was as racist as some of these folks say, like who? Let me see. Hillary Clinton, that almost all of the Trump supporters are white nationalists and racists, which you don't stop to take a second to think the level, the scale of racism that would be, the constant encounters of racists that you would have every single day as you're going about your business, but yet you're not seeing that manifested in your everyday life, but somehow you believe it. Somehow you can't see that they're just using that. And now you see the source of all this mysterious racism. I hope I laid out a well thoughtful, well factual, reasonable argument to show you why racism in America is tearing this country apart. But not in the way that you think it is. It is purposefully being introduced as a political tool and weapon to divide us, to distract from their global agenda, and to drum up emotional hate and responses from those that think they're a victim because of their history and past, or a lot of liberal, white liberals who jump on board with this thinking that they're helping out black folks and supporting us because they're so tenderhearted and naive that they don't realize that these same black folks that's on TV, like we just saw, same Democrats like Joe Biden talking about this is Jim Crow on steroids, are degrading black folks. Now, you've been listening to Kevin in Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. God bless you. God bless America. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And I want to thank everybody who supports my videos, who gives during my super chats, who donates with my Cash App and my PayPal. All of those links are below this video because we already know a video like this exposing their garbage gets no love from YouTube. So we'll see y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. God bless.